even further north. Is that right?
The map which I've got here doesn't clearly indicate, but it appears to be further north. There are no land borders on that map. But I imagine that it could be further north, yes.
And you look at the green line.
Page 8 is very clear.
Yes. If you'd go to page 7, would you indicate to the Commission and explain exactly what is the hydrographic responsibility on the South African government?
The South African Navy is responsible to the South African government for meeting specific hydrographic functions for global trade and for global shipping. And as such, we have a hydrographer who's the hydrographer of the South African Navy. He's a Navy captain and he's based in Silvermine. And as such, he participates in and plans South African naval hydrographic activities off the South African coast right the way up into the designated area, including where necessary to participate off our neighboring countries. They meet on a regular basis, and in fact our hydrographer has done exceedingly well in helping develop the hydrographic capabilities not only of our region but of the entire continent. And in the recent past he was awarded an International Hydrographic Award for helping set up hydrography and awareness of hydrography in Africa. The name of the award was the Dalrymple Award, which allowed international recognition to be cast on South Africa.
Matter of interest, while we talk of the extent of the waters up to Antarctica, does South Africa maintain any presence in the form of scientific research centers in Antarctica?
We do at the Sanai bases, and in fact we have a vessel not in the Navy, but I believe she's a newly built vessel in Finland of about 12,000 ton, which goes down there to service that for the state. The South African Navy provides personnel to assist them in the form of communicators and chefs, etc., when they deploy for extended periods down south.
Will you now go back to page 2 of Exhibit A in order to deal with the continental shelf, which is mentioned in paragraph 14 and to which you have already referred in answer to my learned friend's questions. Here you have told the Commission there is an application pending before the United Nations for recognition of South Africa's would be extended jurisdiction arising from the continental shelf. And it is that application which is now moved, as I understand you, in collaboration with France.
It would be in collaboration with France because there was commonality in their claim and our claim of the islands.
Thank you, Admiral. I want to move to the last of the topics that I wanted to raise with you. And here again, I'm following in the footsteps of my learned friend. I just want to go into greater detail. And it's in the context, Chairman, of rationale. I'm not overlooking the context. My learned friend put to you in very general terms the question of the cancellation of the package in order to explore with you what the effect might be. And I want to do that just in slightly more detailed fashion. Admiral, I want you to assume that the Navy receives a directive from the government, let us say today, to say that after careful deliberation, it has been decided to cancel the package insofar as it involves the corvettes and the submarines, and that in consequence of that cancellation, the law requires that South Africa should no longer exercise any aspect of ownership over those vessels, nor have any beneficial usage of those vessels, so that for all intents and purposes, they are no longer a part of the South African Navy, even though they may be lying in harbour. My question to you is, would you tell the Commission what the effect on that would be of the Navy's ability to perform its constitutional mandate?
If the Navy was tasked to do that, as expressed by you, sir, it would virtually shut down the Navy's ability to meet its constitutional mandate. We would have a bare fraction of the ability with old vessels which we would try to get going, and we would be exceedingly limited.
But I must add to that the likely picture in that event that the South African government would say it is necessary that the government pursue arbitration proceedings against the suppliers in order to demonstrate its entitlement in regard to the repudiation of the contract, and that those arbitration proceedings would probably endure for between a year and 2 years, and during that time it would be uncertain as to what the outcome of the arbitration would be, and that therefore for a period of at least 2 years the Navy would be precluded from following any other alternative, because it would be unknown whether after 2 years you would get the package back or would not. What would be the effect on the Navy?
That would be devastating to the South African Navy. There would be confusion about who was doing what, who was looking after the vessels, that things are dangerous, the submarine batteries. Just in fact, even in keeping them going would be very, very dangerous, and it would bring huge
Yes, Advocate Lubana.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Musi. Can we start with tidying up hygiene issues just to try?
Just hold on. Is that your next witness?
That is so. That is so.
Yeah. Admiral Schultz, can you take the oath?
Please state your full names.
Philip Schultz?
Do you have any objection to taking the oath?
No.
Do you swear that the evidence you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Raise your right hand. Say, so help me God.
So help me God.
I beg your pardon, Chair and Commissioner Musi, for shooting without observing the formality of swearing the witness in. But just briefly, for the sake of lining our ducks in a row, there's one bundle of Admiral Schultz, and we'll call it the Higgs bundle. It starts from, I beg your pardon, we'll call it the Schultz bundle. As you can imagine, Chair and Commissioner Musi, having parted ways with the previous witness, still on our minds. It starts from page 1 to 92. That's got annexures PS1 to PS11. Now, I think it would be appropriate at this stage to mention the following. Admiral Schutz's testimony at one time or the other may border on some sensitive confidentiality, and I'm inclined to say, for the sake of getting us going, when we get there, we'll have to apply our mind. And to take the Commission into our confidence, we are not going to present and make that documentation available. It's very highly classified. The documentation will deal with the testimony pertaining to the operational availability of surface platforms, and it relates to the December 2011 challenges, and I've got to use words measurably. Not deficiencies, not defects, but challenges pertaining to the capabilities in as far as the operational availability is concerned. The witness will, to an extent limited, inform the Commission about those challenges without going deeper into them. Now, the essence of us preluding this at this stage is we want to assure the Commission that we are not going to hide anything, because it is only by bringing everything forward that the Commission would be able to inquire into, establish facts, and make recommendations. But of significance, we need not lose sight of the fact that some of these details are very highly classified, and it would be in the compelling national legitimate interest of our country, the arms of services, that such detail and information should be handled with care. Now, with this background, we are ready to proceed. Admiral Higgs, please look at your statement and permit me to start with a leading question. You have made a sworn statement, am I right?
I have, Chair.
I would like you to look at page 1 of your statement. And let me take the liberty to read paragraph 1 thereof. I, Philip Schutz, hereby say that, paragraph 1, I'm presently appointed as the Flag Officer, Fleet of the South African Navy, a position that I've held since December 2010. Now, I know that we've already qualified and explained what a Flag Officer Fleet is. Just to refresh the Commission, what is a Flag Officer ship?
Chairperson, I command the fleet in Simonstown, and structured within my command is there for all the ships, submarines, training units, logistic units of the fleet.
I'm sorry, if you can just pick up your voice, I'm struggling to hear you.
I command the fleet in Simonstown, and structured beneath me within my command are all the ships and submarines of the South African Navy, as well as the training establishments and the various logistics establishments. And I report directly to Chief of the Navy, who sits in Pretoria at the Naval Headquarters.
That's the position that Admiral Higgs occupied before. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chair.
When you mentioned that you report to the Chief of the Navy who sits in Pretoria, who are you referring to?
I am referring to Vice Admiral Medimo, Chair.
Now, may I proceed, Chair? May I proceed, Commissioner Musi? Thank you, Commissioner Musi. Will repeat the question, and I would ask the witness to repeat the name. The commissioners would like you to repeat the name of the Chief of the Navy.
Chair, it is Vice Admiral Medimo.
May I proceed in reading paragraph 1 of your statement? Prior to this, I was appointed at the Joint Operations Division as the Chief Director Operations from 2005-2010. Let's pause there. What does this function entail?
The Chief of Joint Operations is that entity within the National Defence Force responsible for conducting all operations, and I was the Chief Director within that particular organization, and as such then responsible for the direction of all operations that the National Defence Force conducted.
And we note on the self-same paragraph in line number 4 that you were also the Chief Director Maritime Strategy in bracket 2004.
Chairperson, that was a position within the Naval Headquarters, and it was inter alia responsible for providing Chief of the Navy with staff advice on the strategic direction of the Navy.
We also note that you're the Director Maritime Plans, the period 1999-2003.
Again, Chair, a position within the Naval Headquarters, and that was primarily responsible for the planning and budgeting within the Navy, and then to see to the execution of the plan of the Navy as a staff officer to Chief of the Navy.
On the self-same paragraph, we note that you are also the Director Management Services, the period 1993 to 1998.
Chairperson, again a staff position. Earlier in the week we used terminology like the force structure and the force design. This particular post was the post that created the various posts that went into that structure and design. So in essence it created the backbone against which people could be appointed to within the Navy.
At this appropriate time, I would like us to go to your curriculum vitae, which is on page 9 and 10 of your bundled documents, Annex PS1. Commissioners, page 9 and 10. You will note that there are two curriculum vitae, one on page 9 and one on page 10, would rather deal with the extensive one, because the other one, it's TES and TESI-10, it's limited. We just want to qualify this witness properly to demonstrate that he is better qualified to testify before this commission. I would like to direct you to page 9, Annexure PS1. Paragraph 1 refers to your birthplace. Let's proceed to paragraph 2. You will note that the curriculum vitae is not paragraphed, but I will try to qualify this paragraph by starting to read the first sentence and follow it up by qualifying it as a paragraph number. The paragraph starting with, after completing his schooling, where he actively participated in sport and cultural activities, he entered the South African Navy in 1972. Let's pause. Up to date, how long have you been in the Navy?
And here, Chairperson.
After completion of the officer's course, he obtained a B.Mil in bracket BSc degree at the Military Academy in September 1975. We already know what B.Mil, BSc degree, entails after having listened to Admiral Higgs. We're not going to dwell on that. In 1989, he obtained a business management diploma from the University of Stellenbosch, from a military man, naval officer, to business management diploma. Just whet our appetite. Why that, Admiral Schutz?
Chairperson, much of what one does within the leadership cadre is in fact management, and this particular diploma was aimed at operational research and quantitative analysis, and that really forms the heart of wargaming. It also forms the heart of logistics management, and so for that reason I did this course.
Next, paragraph 3, starting with his military training. We're going to a military training. His military training includes combat officers qualifying in 1976, 4 years down the line after you entered the Navy. Long gunnery course 1977. Joint land and air warfare course 1979. Let's pause there. Combat officers qualifying, what does it entail?
Chairperson, the course was there to qualify you to serve on board a minor war vessel and a major war vessel as they were then defined, but in essence, those days, the minesweepers and the frigates, and combat was those musterings or disciplines that dealt with gunnery, anti-submarine warfare, communications, and the like. So it was a warfare-orientated course.
Was that dictated by the times in which South Africa found itself?
No, Chair, this was the normal course that any line officer or general duties officer had to do in order to become a departmental officer on board a warship. And this predates probably Nelson, and it continues today as well. So it's to qualify you for the profession of arms on board a ship. It's possibly the best way of describing it.
Thanks for the clarity, Admiral Schutz. Long gunnery course, what does it entail?
Chair, those days you were able to do a long gunnery course over and above the gunnery that you did on the combat officers qualifying course, and they were done in the UK, but I was privileged to do my course in Israel as part of the program of acquiring the strike craft. So I did the second weapons officers course in Israel, which was just short of, I think, 8 months.
Joint land and warfare course 1979. I think that stands to be obvious. Air Force Staff course 1991. Just refreshers. Air Force Staff course.
Chairperson, as you proceeded up your career path, you did your so-called line or functional courses, which were the combat courses in my case, but you also had to undergo staff training for later staff appointments. And each service at that stage had its own staff college and staff course. I chose at that point, in fact, to do the Air Force one rather than the Naval one due to personal matters at that time that necessitated me to be up in this area, not down in the Cape.
And the Joint Staff Course 1995, refreshers?
Chairperson, that again, it's a course that has changed its name. Today it's known as the Executive National Security Program, and it's a course that's offered at the Defence College, and that was a prerequisite for promotion at that stage to the rank of Brigadier General or Rear Admiral Junior Grade in the Navy. And it was similar to the staff course, but where the staff course focused on the operational level of war, the Joint Staff course focused on the strategic level of war.
While under training, he also served on board the destroyer, SAS Jan van Riebeeck, the minesweeper, SAS Pretoria, and the frigate, SAS President Kruger. Now, just draw a distinction between these three vessels. And I'm using this word vessel measurably. We see one is a destroyer, the other one is a minesweeper, and the other one is a frigate.
Chairperson, the destroyer I served on was one of the what we call whiskey or W-class destroyers, purchased from the British, built in 1940s, mid-1940s, and if Chair will permit me, then possibly I can read definitions out of the Staff College handbooks and war books as to what the frigate and the destroyer is, although it's been said before. But essentially, the difference between the destroyer and the frigate, as has been indicated, is firstly size. Destroyers today are between 5,000 and 10,000 ton, and destroyers carry all the weapons, all the sensors, and all the command and control systems to allow them to operate in a high-threat environment. And also, more importantly, they're used primarily as escort vessels today for what one could call a capital ship, such as an aircraft carrier or a landing platform dock or a landing platform helicopter. Now, it needs to be said, these lines are graying today because having given you the tonnage of a destroyer, today we find that the Spanish Type 21, the German Type 124, and the Dutch, the Seven Provinciën, are building frigates that are in excess of 5,000 ton. So these lines are blurring. So when people speak of frigates, destroyers, corvettes, it's become very much a blurred area. Frigates, I believe Admiral Higgs has elaborated on fully. I think what's important is that the frigate is normally the smallest unit that you would send independently into a high-threat area. Also, that where the destroyer has the ability to operate in all the environments of warfare, normally a frigate would be specialized to anti-air warfare or anti-submarine warfare, although there are, as in the case of South Africa, ones that have dual capability, but then at a much lower capability level than that of a destroyer. The minesweeper that was referred to in my CV, they were built primarily to deal with moored mines that we found abounding in the last Great War, and they essentially made use of a wire that was towed behind them to cut the mooring line so that the mine would come to the surface where it could then be shot. They also had the acoustic ability to stream acoustic gear behind them and then detonate acoustic mines as well as magnetic mines. These are largely phased out in the world today.
The next paragraph, going history, going appointments, will run through it. My attention is drawn to your being a weapons officer and the operations officer and the commanding officer. of 3 different ships or vessels. Now, what's the distinction between a weapons officer and the operations officer?
Chairperson, both are departmental officers, line officers or combat officers. The weapons officer is responsible for the weapons department, in this case on board the strike craft for the guns and missiles on board, where the operations officer was responsible for the detection equipment like the radar, by which we detect other vessels at sea, the electronic warfare equipment, and also the communication suite. So it was just 2 different departments.
And we note you are commanding this position there. You became a commanding officer of the SAS Oswald Pero. Next paragraph, starting with his shore appointments have included staff officer training, we've heard about it, senior staff officer personnel at the strike craft flotilla, senior staff officer surface warfare, senior staff officer surface warfare, senior staff officer operations, senior staff officer operational staff duties, director naval management services, director maritime plans and chief director maritime strategy at the Navy headquarters, chief director operations and the joint operations division, flag officer fleet at the fleet command, the position he presently holds. Am I right to say you and Admiral Higgs more or less share the same background?
I think the only commonality was that we were both at the fleet as the flag officer fleet. I don't see any other posts there that are very similar in any manner.
Well, what remains probably leaves me confused is these formidable achievements that are aligned to your curriculum vitae, but thanks for clarifying what the similarities are in relation to the distinctions. We'll move on. Next paragraph, his career aspects show the promotion to sub-lieutenant 1976, lieutenant 1979, lieutenant commander 1982, commander 1987, captain 1993, rear admiral junior grade 1999, and rear admiral January 2004. Now, would you like to qualify your stars as you are standing before the Commission?
Chairperson, just to indicate that I am currently a Rear Admiral Junior Grade, and that is at least a Rear Admiral, and that is a 2-star position within the Department of Defense.
We've already traversed that. You went through the ranks, you became a commander, up to the level where you are. I need not draw similarities between you and your colleague who testified before us because you have different strengths and talents. Let's go to the next paragraph. Your awards. You've been awarded the Southern Cross Decoration, the Southern Cross Medal, the Military Merit Medal, the Pro Patria Medal, the Southern Africa Medal, the General Service Medal, the Tsumelo Ikatelaho Medal, the Good Service Medal Gold, the Good Civil Service Medal Silver, and the Good Service Medal Bronze, plus or minus 10, 11, am I right? The award of these medals, are they those which are pre-1994 and those which are post-1994?
That's correct, Chair. They pretty much 50-50% between pre-94 and post-94.
We have recognized when the previous witness was taken to some of the medals that are common between you two, as to there's an inclination, and one can sense that the earlier ones are pre-1994, the latest ones are post-1994. Am I right?
Chair, I've written the medals actually in the sequence of their seniority as opposed to the sequence of their award. So the Southern Cross decoration I received after 94, the Southern Cross medal as back, I think, late 70s, and then the rest follow similar suit, like the Pro Patria I got before 94, the Good Service bronze right at the end I got after 10 years service, and the Good Service gold I got after 30. So the sequence there is the sequence of seniority as opposed to the sequence of award.
Thanks for correcting me, Admiral Schutz. I shouldn't assume. Dr. Alan Patton says, never generalize and assume. Thank you. Next paragraph. He is a keen student of military and international affairs and has delivered a number of papers at national and international symposia. Now, just whet our appetite and give us examples of the papers you have delivered, one, and where you delivered them. Let's start with international symposium ones before we go to national.
All of them, but certainly in terms of national papers that I delivered a paper on the requirements for a new search and rescue regime for South Africa. This is maritime search and rescue. This was about 2 years ago now. I also delivered papers on integrated and multidimensional peacekeeping in country, but under Canadian sponsorship, as well as a paper on operational logistics in peacekeeping. Then I delivered a paper under Swedish, the Benedott Folker University, also in country, on challenges to international peacekeeping. And much further back, I stand corrected, but probably 2006-07, under Dutch auspices, a paper on sea space management, and then also in Washington, D.C., I think that was 2004, a paper on defining the African maritime battle space. So that's roughly, most of these papers were under external auspices, even if they were presented of them in the country.
So does that mean you can't draw a distinction between national and international symposium?
Chairperson, I think the time when most of these were presented, I was working in the Joint Operations Division. Our country was very involved in, as it still is, peacekeeping operations, but it was at the early stages of it. And so there was many conferences taking place both in South Africa and externally. And the whole issue of peacekeeping has changed significantly in the last decade, from people that stand there between opposing factions to really the whole issue of security sector reform. And South Africa played a cardinal role in that evolving body of knowledge and literature. And I was very privileged to be caught up in that, having spent 5 years roughly working in the peacekeeping environment in Africa.
These erudite papers that you delivered, are they published anywhere? Could they be accessed?
I believe, Chairperson, some of them are published. I know the Defining the African Maritime Battle Space. It has also been taken up in part of the American foreign policy on Africa. I was told by, I think it was Ambassador Fraser at the time. The sea space management one I could not tell you because that was handed over to the Dutch at the end of it. And the rest would be with the agencies. I would have to check. Most of them were published online at the time, but whether they captured them in hard copy afterwards, I could not tell you. I've never gone back to them.
The last paragraph. or the pen. I beg your pardon, Chair. The penultimate paragraph, his hobbies include reading, carpentry, and hunting. What's the correlation between the military, navy, water, and hunting? If any.
Don't know how to answer that, but hunting, I presume, military, guns, but also people that spend their lives at sea have a great love for nature. And hunting is about the love for nature to me. Reading, I think education is the key. And carpentry, work with your hands. And I guess if you spring a leak, it might be good on a ship to be able to swing a hammer, sir.
Admiral Schutz, I would like you to go back to your statement. Paragraph 4, the nub of why you are standing before the Commission.
I'm sorry, well, I see it's already 5 to 4. If you're going to start a new topic now, going through the statement, the only thing that this will be an appropriate moment to adjourn.
Thank you, Chair.
Dealing with this statement for 5 minutes, we adjourn, and then we start again tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. With that direction, we could adjourn, Chair.
I think maybe let's adjourn, and then we'll start again tomorrow morning. Then tomorrow morning you can start with his statement. Thank you. I think we'll adjourn until tomorrow morning at 9:30.